Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. We are back on Friday. It is Reckless Friday, as always, and it's National Donut Day. Well, we kind of like talked about it last night that it was going to be like an early celebration of National Donut Day where Anand showed up on the Thursday podcast eating donuts. And that's why we probably don't have him with us right now because I think he got to 6. He was supposed to finish the rest this morning. So we'll find out if he ever makes it and gets to finish the donuts. But Kazi's with us. Did you bring donuts?
I did not bring donuts for National Donut Day.
You do donuts. Do you eat donuts? Let's ask
I
that.
do eat donuts, yes. It's weird for me to have them for breakfast because in the UK it's like a more of a treat kind of thing.
Yes.
And, you know
that's
what
why
I
I
mean?
asked. I didn't know if you were like a donut guy.
Yeah, that's a bit weird to me. But yeah, bro, I do eat donuts, and I thought Anand was going to bring along the most donuts as possible. So, you know what I mean? But we shall see. We shall see.
He bought like the worst donuts too.
Did he?
So yeah, there he is, him and his donuts. So how many donuts do you have left from last night from that 12? You were supposed to eat 12, couldn't muster it.
I'm
what
not
do you
eating any more donuts.
How many do you have left?
There's 5.5.
I thought you were gonna finish them this morning, bro. Where are they at?
Oh, he is. We're not tapping out now.
Yeah, no.
Come on, fella.
Yeah,
You're not letting my fucking team down on a Friday morning.
I got sick.
Well,
you look sick.
You shouldn't write checks that your ass can't cash. You know what I mean?
This time the check bounced. I'm not going to cash it. Well, I might grab a couple. I'll grab a couple.
At least partake in National Donut Day.
When did it really kick in? Like, once. So you had 6.5 during the show last night.
Yeah.
So, like, at what time did that's like really come back to haunt you? I mean, it looked some immediate effects watching you.
Not even 10 minutes later, I was not having it. It was disgusting. I don't eat that much sweets or sugar and all that, so I wasn't doing okay.
I don't think anybody eats that many sugars and sweets, bro.
mean,
that was like, And then you got all of the ones that were like, looked like they were cakey donuts. Not even like flaky donuts. You should have just gotten like Krispy Kreme glazed or something like that. That goes like, see, Kazi knows what I'm talking about. Goes down
I would have done that, but we don't have that where I live. We don't have any of that. We just either have like the coffee shop that exists, but they close at 6, or Walmart. So Walmart was the one.
Yeah, they looked
horrible.
But hey, I guess I'm gonna listen to Redman TV. They can follow through on donut bets. He says, "Damn." Making us look bad, man. Making us look bad. First of all, you made us look bad by betting that Thiago would score, and then this to boot on top.
Yeah.
But upon further review, see what I did there? VAR is staying 19-1. So Wolves are like, am I the only one in here who's not happy with this thing? Kind of an ordeal. I mean, I'm not shocked, Kazi, and I'm almost like happy with the result. I don't think it was ever in doubt, to be honest with you, but you can't just remove something because people in charge of it are not using it properly.
I mean, yeah, and I let see both sides here, and I understand where Wolves are coming from because they've been on the wrong end of some horrific decisions this season. Horrific, more than Liverpool, a lot. Like, they've been probably at 8 or 10, which should have went their way. So I understand the anger and the frustration, but yeah, I don't think it was ever going to happen. I don't even think it was close to ever happening, which proved right. I feel a bit weird about this because, again, yes, and I agree with the mediocre refereeing, and it's like re-refereeing games and stuff like that. But we are kind of still in the infancy now of VAR still. I know that sounds mad. Football's been going on for 200 years. VAR's been going on for 3 or 4 or 5 years maybe at max. So we are still kind of in the infancy where I think things will change over time. Again, like next season in the Premier League, we're getting the semi-automated offsides, like in Europe, which work a lot quicker and a lot, let the game flow. So I do think we have to kind of evolve with the technology. And by the way, the technology will always change because technology is changing in life every single day. So the technology for VAR will eventually change and we get it right to be perfected. So, yeah, I mean, I do understand where Wolves are coming from, but it was just never, ever going to happen, was it?
And I don't even remember. I mean, the only one I remember vividly because I was watching is the one where they got like robbed at the end of the United game.
first game of the season.
But I don't think VAR was changing that anyway, was it? Like the call on the field was like not a penalty.
Correct, but Howard Webb
Right.
came out the day after. Howard Webb came out the day after and said he made a mistake there. I think Howard Webb's apologised to him like 5 times this season, and you get to the stage where you can only apologise so much.
Yes, exactly.
Before you start getting pissed off. So we understand it.
But ultimately, it's how it's used on, and yes, technology will change. And the thing that gets to me the most, kind of like what they're doing the semi-automatic now. They did the same thing with VAR. Everybody and their brother was using it, and at the time we were like, "Oh, Premier League is watching everybody do theirs so that they can troubleshoot it and install it correctly." And that didn't. They definitely watched other people troubleshoot it, but they didn't install it correctly afterwards.
Yeah. Well, it's like people saying, "Oh, there's too many car accidents. Let's ban cars." Well, idiots are driving the cars that are causing the accidents. You're not going to ruin it for everyone. I think because of how much eye is on VAR next season, it's going to improve. They're going to do a little better. They're going to take their time a little more with decisions. But really, the biggest thing was the offside goals, and now that's automated. So that takes away a lot of the big problem. And I'm glad only one team voted against it, which is Wolves, because it would have been a shame if we lost VAR after, we've seen the benefits. Obviously, we've seen the bad things about it, but we've seen the benefits of it. So I'm glad it stays, and I hope this conversation doesn't come up again. We move on now. We got bigger fish to fry in the Premier League than VAR right now.
Yeah, I mean, it should be, I don't know, like it should not even be a discussion, I guess. We don't go back and talk about some other things that, the back pass. Nobody comes on and be like, should we put the back pass for the goalie back in the game? You know what I mean? Like we moved on, we've evolved, and the game has changed. Does it make a difference, the score line over there, Kazi, that it's a beatdown? Would it be more of a talking point if it kind of was like I don't know, like 13-7 or something like that?
Most definitely. I think that's when you would talk about it a lot more, and we think, well, who's the one club who you can swing? Because let's get it right. If it was 13-7, if you're the 7 clubs, you go, we'll swing one next season early. Like one of them get a bad decision early doors, we'll swing them. Do you know what I mean? So that's what because that's what you think. They're all. I love how we forget that clubs are human beings still running these clubs, and that's how they think like us. Because that's exactly because they are still human beings, and it's the first thing that you would think of, isn't it? It's like again with Jurgen now leaving, and Jurgen's talking about like City's 115 charges, and I'll come on a coach parade if we get our league titles back. And he's talking like a fan would. Like he hasn't spoken about this because he couldn't, but he's now talking like a fan would. It was a non-starter really for Wolves. But the one thing you would say is, Dominic, it's getting it back in the news. It's getting it at the forefront of people's attention again. So that might make it interesting, but it was just never ever going to happen. And it's been a landslide on it, really.
Yeah, and almost like, by the way, Alan says, the donut killer. But Alan, if you joined us earlier, you would know that it's kind of like the other way around. The donuts have killed Anan as opposed to the other way around. Dude, the funniest part of that entire thing last night, by the way, and if you have not watched last night's podcast, even if you don't watch the full thing, you got to start halfway through when Anan joins with his donuts. And actually, you should. In the beginning, there was some like really interesting conversations, but I know it was like pins and needles waiting for you to come on. I think the funniest part to me was watching you get visibly sicker as the show went on. I thought that was like hilarious, but I'm sure not to you. But so the VAR thing, you were kind of like alluding to it there, Anan. Is this kind of like an unnecessary distraction where, like you said, we are bigger fish to fry and now City is doubling up on their end and stuff like that? Or we can, it's Premier League. We can handle multiple crappy debates at the same time.
We can handle multiple crappy debates at the same time. But this is one debate that, just like you guys said, it was a landslide. So why even bring this back up again? It's not like it was, we weren't sure. Oh, my God, it's a 50-50. It was like, dude, what the hell are you doing, Wolves? Like, just back off. So this isn't. I think this conversation is done, and now I hope those bigger fish to fry get fried. I hope we start actually seeing results from what's going on, because I think Monday we'll hear from what City's appeal or City's suit, and then in November we get the charges. This is what people need to be looking at. That's what we need to be paying attention to. Don't get distracted by this small little event, because if we, if people pay attention and push the narrative on the bigger charges, the bigger stories, you never know what can happen. So that's what I want. That's what I'd love for people to all just push on, because we can't let it slide, and it will slide, and City will get away. But let's at least keep bringing it up, talking about it, make it look bad.
Well, let's play debate club. Kazi, you wish you were one of City's high-paid lawyers, but if you were, I mean, what can you even bring on as a case? I know they've complained about, they compared it to like United and stuff like that, and teams in the past where they're, being able to do whatever, but it still has to be evaluated, because obviously United, Liverpool, certain clubs getting certain deals makes a lot more sense than, for example, I don't know, Luton Town coming up with the same deal, because no sponsor is going to give the same money to Luton Town that they give to Liverpool and United and stuff, who are global brands. So obviously your exposure goes more, you're willing to pay more. But if you are the lawyer, what is your case? Make a case. Try to make a case.
It's difficult. The first thing first is, you would say it's been brought in to stop us in Newcastle. It's been brought in to stop the growth of us in Newcastle. So you've done it to single us out, basically. That's what you would say if you're City. The second part is that, well, we just have better connections and they want to pay us more money. And you shouldn't have, because this is basically, I don't want to get too political with this, right? But for people, if you believe in capitalism, don't invite capitalists into your socialist league if that's what you want. If you want a socialist league, do not invite capitalists to come in to buy football clubs. Because you guess what a capitalist has? They have capitalist ideas. Who would have thought it? Do you know what I mean? So there's a part of this, and again, and that's, by the way, that's to do with Liverpool's owners, which we can get to, because there's a headline from Tom Werner today, which we'll get to, regarding the capitalism. You can't have it both ways. That's my argument. No. So you have a socialist league where everyone gets a fair slice of the pie, like we do now. Let's get it right, like we do now, in terms of the TV rights. Yeah. So for people who don't know all the TV money, the Premier League goes out and negotiates all the TV rights, puts all the money in a pot, and it gets split 20 ways to all the clubs equally. And that's how the TV money works. Liverpool and United have been trying to stop that for about 15 years. Right?
That is rare, by the way. I mean, yes. Not a lot of leagues don't work like that. So
Real Madrid and Barcelona and Atletico go out and negotiate all their own rights, and that's why you don't watch a lot of Levante games or Getafe games on La Liga. No, you watch Real Madrid and Barcelona. It's the reason why Bayern Munich and Dortmund do the same, and you don't watch a lot of fucking Mainz games. So that's how it works in other leagues. But in the Premier League, they wanted to keep it competitive as much. Now, if you're City, your argument is that you're trying to stop our growth. You're trying to stop us from growing, and it's not up to you to dictate what our negotiation sponsors are. It's not up to you. That's up to, if someone wants to pay me 100 million, you go, no, they can only pay you 50 million. How's that fair? That's what, if I was City, that's what the argument is. If you're the Premier League, those shoes on the other foot is, you go, yeah, but some of these companies are very closely related to your owners, and they're very too close related to your owners, and there's too much of a thing there, and we're trying to keep our league competitive, and you've won 6 of the last 7. So when City, I understand there's a few quotes going around from the lawyers saying, oh, they're trying to stifle us and they're trying to not make it competitive. You've won 6 of the last 7. It's not competitive at the moment.
Yeah.
Our league is not competitive. If anyone says it's the best league in the world, the same guys winning all the time, that's not the best league in the world. Like, you know what I mean? For the last 5 years, at least, apart from Liverpool. So there's both sides to every story. I do believe City will win, by the way. I think City will win. I think 1,000%. The Premier League haven't got the lawyers to back them up. They'll just get tied up in knots. They can't be asked and just go and just cut ties. But if you're City, I think that's your argument, and that's the way home, I think.
And honestly, Anand, I mean, when you hear that point, and which is their point, so sometimes things look shady, but you can never prove it. And I feel like this is one of those. Like, if they came and said, oh, we're giving this much to this, for this deal, we were like, that makes no sense. Those guys don't even give that much to this bigger club. They're like, well, yeah, we just got bigger negotiators. Like, when Edwards sells somebody for 30 million, exactly. That, like somebody could come in and say, like, wait, is your cousin working for Bournemouth? Because that guy is not worth more than 10. They say, oh, yeah, you got a good negotiator going there. So how does Premier League go around and say, nope, you're cooking the books?
Well, it's going to be one of two choices now. Either the Premier League bends over or they try to prove a point. Knowing how they deal with City, they're going to bend over. And they're not going to try to prove a point against. I mean, City's threatening them in every single possible way, taking away investments in everything English football, not just the league. So they have a high ground to stand on, and it's a shame. It's a shame that they waited, then they came up with this, and now they're going to make the whole FA, everything about English football, look really bad. And I think they're going to let it slide. They're going to let them do their thing, and it is what it is. The only point I agree with in City's defense, and this is weird to say, they said clubs like United and Arsenal haven't won fuck all, but they're able to spend money and buy because they have no restrictions. But us, who've been winning everything, we're unable to spend however much money we need. And you look at that and you're like, you know what? I know you guys are kind of manipulating because that's not how it works. Yeah. But also, for somebody from the outside, it looks good. It's like, wow, you actually make a good point. When I read that, I was like, holy shit, that makes a good point. And then when I read the details, I'm like, that's not really how it is. Yeah. But, well said. So, their lawyer, the Arab dude's going to walk in like, Habibi, listen to me. We win the league so many times, right? Why you don't? And they're going to get away with it. They're going to get away with it.
I'm glad you've done that accent, fella, because otherwise we're getting cancelled.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's why we leave those to him. Like, the sales guy.
I got you guys. I'll take care of these.
Yeah, don't do that to me.
But, I mean, here's my thing. If you are, while I understand that, Kazi, you can say, hey, these rules don't make sense. And you can try to change the rules, but that does not excuse you from violating the rules. So you can say, yeah, these rules are junk and change the rules, but you knew those rules and what you did was against it regardless.
Yeah.
So shouldn't the violation still stand even if the rules get tweaked in their favor?
Correct. This is where the point comes in. So the 115 charges were inflating sponsorship. And also the biggest one that no one talks about is the Mancini second contract. That's the big one that no one. So the rumors are he had a second contract under a different company and he was getting paid by them as well.
Yeah,
that's horrific. By the way, if that happens. So the argument with this is that it was brought in just before Newcastle got paid took over by Saudi Arabia. Like that's exactly when it was brought in because they thought it was going to be the same thing that's going to happen with City. And I go back to Anand's point of United and Arsenal, they can spend anything in that with the restrictions, yeah. But supposedly City have got the biggest commercial revenue in the world. Supposedly, that's what we get told.
Yeah,
bigger than United and Real Madrid, even though Real Madrid win the Champions League every single year. They got the biggest commercial revenue in the world. Not too sure about if that's correct or not. But going off their books, they can sign who they like. City can sign who they like. But there's a part where I didn't sign Jack Grealish for 100 million, or Vardy always barely played for 90 million, or Ruben Diaz for 70 million. Do you know what I'm saying? So you actually picking points around their squad mates. There's players there when you go, fucking hell, he did sign in for good money, You actually forget. You actually kind of like, when you look around the squad, because again, some players have been there. They signed the Paul for like 70 or 60 million. He fucked them off 3 years later. He's playing in Saudi Arabia. Do you know what I mean? It's so, there's parts around this, the Haaland deal, when people say it was a buyout clause, yeah, it was, yeah, no problem. But we know how much wages you're paying him, and we know everything else that's going on with Haaland to keep him there and all that kind of stuff. So, as much as you can say, guys, yeah, well, we want to, how much more do you want? Like, what else do you want to spend money on? Like, again, there's only so many points you can win, There's only so many games. You can't just, keep winning more games. There's only so many you can win. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who you sign. So, there's a part where, I look at Villa, for example. Villa got to sell by the end of July. I think, or end of June. They reckon Villa's got to sell a player or two. And they just qualify for the Champions League, and people saying, it's not fair, and they're trying to grow, and no problem at all, and I get all that. And yet, you signed Coutinho for 20 million. You signed Durant for 16 million, who's garbage. You signed the Donker for 15 million. I don't even think the Donker plays with them anymore. So, you actually look around their squad and you go, well, you've spent like 100 million on garbage that you don't even play anymore in the last 3-4 years. Do you know what I mean? So, there's much as what PSR does, which people will not like to hear, but what PSR does is that it doesn't allow you to make mistakes in the transfer market. Because if you make mistakes, you get punished. So it doesn't allow you to go out to spend 20 million on Coutinho or a Duran, or you sign 30 million on Luka Dean, and Luka Dean barely plays in and out the squad for them. And, it's just, you get into that stage where I think they sign like 30 million for Danny Ings. Like I'm like in the last few, then Danny Ings going for like 25 million, and now he was on loan to West Ham 2 years later. So if you actually look at West Ham, Villa, and we go, oh, we feel sorry for Villa. Well, let's look at the last 5 years. You spent 150 million, 100 million on garbage that don't play for you.
Yeah, but in Villa's defense, aren't they going to say, look at freaking United? They're making 150, 200 million dollars worth of mistakes a year, and they can afford to keep making it.
But that's commercial revenue. That's up to Villa now to grow their commission revenue. I don't agree with the PSR, by the way. I think it should be slightly changed and altered. I do think that. But the rules are also put in place so you don't get, again, the team winning the last 4 Premier Leagues continuously. What Villa have got to do now is capitalise on the Champions League. Go deep. Go to the quarterfinal. Get your commercial revenue. Go, you know what I mean? Like that's how you grow that way. But there's also a part, though, mate. If you look at Freed Sanchez, for example, that's coming up. I mentioned it in our chat with Eric Dyer, Ryan Sessegnon, Lloyd Kelly's free, by the way, out of Bournemouth. He's a great player. Liverpool went with him a few years ago. He's free. He's 25. Plays left back and centre half.
I thought somebody just signed him, didn't he?
Newcastle.
Newcastle
That's
been confirmed. No, I know they were linked. I didn't know it was confirmed. But there's players around. There, like I'm a big Ryan Sessegnon fan at 24. I think he does a job for Liverpool as a backup left back. If you're going to do Costas for 10, for example, do you know what I mean? So there's like for example, if Liverpool sell Kelleher for 25, I'd go and sign Alex McCarthy from Southampton on a free, who's English, so he helps you with your homegrown because he's a backup goalkeeper, and you make 20 million that way. So there's things you can still do. You don't need to go out and go and buy the big shiny thing all the time. There's little clever bits of signings. And going back to the Liverpool parks, this is a Liverpool podcast. That's what I owe Liverpool go back to. When you were signing Shaqiri for 12 million quid and stuff like that. Like little clever bits of business just to get you over the line for 2-3 years. Look, Endo might be one this time. He just does a job for 2-3 years and fuck him off. Do you know what I mean? So I owe Liverpool go back to that. But you don't need to go out and sign all these crazy, X amount of players. You know what I mean? Again, it just seems a bit wild to me that everyone thinks you got to sign £40 million players to compete when that's just completely incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, you got to spend wisely within your budget, but at the same time, I mean, I understand why a team would be frustrated, I guess, Anand, because in some ways that commercial money, you can't say, I mean, that's where City is coming from, I guess, in terms of, we're making deals too. We're big commercially. It just doesn't make sense. It makes a lot more sense when United, Liverpool, and the big boys do it, or Real and stuff like that, because you can see other people paying for their brand because they are a brand. But, let's face it, Kazi talks about, like the Champions League run and stuff like that, right? That kind of takes care of you for a season and stuff like that. But I mean, you're never going to be suddenly as big unless you do it consistently, like over like a decade or something like that. Like I'll tell you what, like my buddy who lives out in Washington is like my best friend from high school. He's like a non-sports guy. You could give him a ball, he couldn't tell you the sport. You know what I mean? He's that kind of a dude. And his daughter started playing soccer, so they started watching soccer, and they're City fans. Like, they're not fans, but they're City fans. Yeah. And that's kind of like how you got to do that over a long period of time to be able to get a new generation, even if they're like bandwagon fans, kind of like growing into it. I mean, I don't know. I'm from Turkey. I became a Liverpool fan because they were in that 84 final. That's the first time I saw them. And that's how I became a Liverpool fan. And suddenly you fall in love and you keep following him and stuff like that. But you got to be there. If they were not in the 84 final, if somebody else is there, I don't know. Maybe I'm not a Liverpool fan. You know what I mean? Especially becoming global, you got to have that continuous success. And you're not going to have that if you don't have consistent money.
Well, the question comes in. So when United go on tour internationally, do you see how crazy the people go? I mean, we're talking about the second highest earning club in football. When it comes to United and the way they make money, it's unbelievable. Even when they're not winning, even when they're garbage as they are, they're still one of the highest earning clubs that make money when it comes to commercial revenue and support. Obviously, Real Madrid always number one for obvious reasons. But you look at that list, City's not even in the top 10. You look at the list, Aston Villa doesn't even exist in that list. So it's like you're complaining about something that you're doing nothing about. Look at the U.S. tour when City were here a couple of years ago. They had the Premier League trophy and people were going to see it. And it was just my 7-year-old sister that went. She's like, she calls me and she's like, there's nobody here. You sure this is the right place? I'm like, hey, The Chicago soccer website says it's there. Just walk in. She walks in. She's like, yeah, it's here. And I'm like, okay, there you go. So, I mean, this is a club that doesn't have a fan base. It has, and you said it just right, it has people who, with all respect to your friend, are just hopping on a bandwagon because it's trending. Now, listen, if this continues on for the next 10, 15 years, when I started watching Liverpool in 98, I was a kid. I had no idea what I'm doing. And then I grew with it. Now, if these people grow with it and continue to support, and more people do that, sure, this is a club that'll actually start making money. But the problem is, City aren't worrying about that, because all they're doing is they're forging their paperwork, they're forging their numbers, and they're saying, oh, yeah, this is how much we made from commercial revenue last year. Oh, yeah, this is how much we made from this. But it isn't true. So instead of them going to try to find a solution for it, they're just calling Sheikh Mansour and saying, just make a fake company and drop in $100 million. Just drop in $100 million from your uncle's business. And it's such a shitty way to do it, especially when you look at their home games. They can't even sell out a whole stadium. You want to convince me that they're making $1.6 billion a year in commercial
But again, it doesn't make sense. But to prove that it's not happening is really tricky. Like, Sarzi says, guaranteed the City fans around the world aren't buying the real jerseys. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter for City, because City doesn't need the money. Like, City owners don't need the actual money. They just need to be able to say, it makes sense. Look at all our fans around the world. Mind you, the more you find out about City, the less of a fan you probably will be, as opposed to Liverpool.
Glad Kazi brought up Mancini's payments. How is that not being talked about every single day?
It's part of the charges. It's a part of the charges.
Yeah, even the guy's like, it happened. Okay, we move on. How are people not talking about that?
It's a part of the charges. It's insane that no one talks about, that they were paying Mancini on the table to more dough. Which that's why the argument for Pep always will come around, isn't it? Well, what's going on with your contract? You know what I mean? It's like, that's how they keeping you here.
Without bringing it up, Pep brought it up that I don't get no money. I don't know what you guys talking about. I don't know. Like, they know. Even he knows about Mancini.
Going back to PSR though, Tim, because I think it's interesting. Night. I've just been checking Villa's there. So in 2020 season 21, so 4 years ago, he spent 98 million in the summer. He signed Bertrand Traore for 18 million, and he just left on a free. Is that good business? Yeah. It's like the second expensive sign that they signed is a guy called Morgan Sanson, who's now at Marseille, and they signed him for 15 million.
But I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it just makes the margins even smaller for those guys. Whereas, Liverpool has a lot bigger margin, United has a bigger margin, Chelsea has a bigger margin of error. You know what I'm saying? So you can. I mean, if they did a $50 million guy, if they had a Naby Keita, they'd be doomed for like 3 seasons. Whereas, or they had an Anthony or something like that, they'd be doomed for like 3, Maguire or something like that. Whereas, obviously the bigger you are, but it does make sense. The bigger you are, the more money you have. If somebody is rich, they can make
a lot of what they're going through is just pile up from their previous transfers. It isn't all like from one season. I think what the players he's naming were like maybe 5 years ago. And then it just piles up and up and up. Where you reach a cap, we're like, dude, what the fuck? Like,
I say this all the time. It's harder to get players out than it is to get players in. You've got to get the shit out. Like, Liverpool have suffered from that a little bit. But I just checked there because I was wondering how much they paid for Moussa Diaby. Good player, good winger, we'll agree. Good. Not world class, good. 50 million they paid for him. £50 million. Liverpool signed Luis Diaz at 27 million. So there's, and I think Diaz is a better player, personally. So, it just allows. You've got to stop getting to the stage where everything has to be a £50 million signing. We have to stop this. There's other things that we can do. Like, there's other ways you can go about. Again, different things. Rabiot's out of contract. De Gea hasn't had a club for the year. Do you need to keep it or not? Or do you want to go and sign a £25 million keeper? It's what I'm saying. There's things that we can do all around. This is a whole football thing. Ndidi's out of contract this summer. Ndidi's 27. Can Ndidi do a job for Liverpool on a free transfer for 2 years? Probably. Could he be a number for Liverpool? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But it could be. For free transfer, though, if I said I'm giving you Ndidi for free.
Yeah, exactly. The free transfer part.
We wanted Ndidi 2 years ago for 50 million. That's
what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, bro. So there's things that you can do. You don't always have to think of these £50 million. I don't understand why. This is my argument, and again, I know we're going to get to the owners because I'm sure you're going to bring that thing up anyway. When I started to think with FSG, it was never about how much they spend. It's about don't leave me short. I don't care how they spent 20 million net in this summer. I don't care as long as you sign 5 players that we need. I don't care the fuck how you
exactly. Yeah.
Just don't leave me short of a centre half, which we all thought we were short, and then Jarrod Quansah's the greatest centre half to ever play football. So there's, you know what I mean? There's like, don't leave me short in positions. That's all I care about. I don't care how much you spend, and that's what football fans just don't think about. Do you know what I mean? They just like don't think. Like I look at Everton, for example, who's struggling for money, desperate. Everton, as you know, in dire straits, but they still signed Tarkovsky on a free. That's great business.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Fantastic bit of business. They signed Damari Gray for 1.5 and sold him to Saudi Arabia for 12 million in 2 years. That is what you call good football club. That's a well-run football club. That bit of business.
At the same time, Kazi, like let's face it, when FSG does that, you appreciate it because you maybe look at the big picture, but not a lot of fans do because they don't make the big signing.
Of course. But there's also, I know sometimes Liverpool, and I've been guilty of this in the past, where you want like a statement signing, where you go, fuck. But I will give FSG the credit. They were trying to do that with Caicedo last year. By the way, when people forget what the Caicedo bid, we'd already signed 3 midfielders. Before the Caicedo bid happened, I think we already had Szoboszlai, McAllister, and someone else through the door.
We had all but Gravenberch, I think, at the time.
And he was going to do fucking...
all but Endo, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Gravenberch came last day, so they had 2 through the door. And then they were going to spend 150. That would have been a 200 million net spend.
Yeah.
Like, that's like unheard of for Liverpool. So they were going to do it. I just feel like, again, and I've been guilty of it sometimes, wanting that statement signing, but I just now know that's not how they work, unless it works for them. Like sometimes I just want us to go, fucking hell, just go mad and go and get this. Like I wanted Jude Bellingham, like I think we all did. Just go and sign Jude Bellingham and just build the rest from Jude Bellingham. Do you know what I mean? Like just get him and just go and sign 3 players just to go round him because he's that good of a footballer. But again, I just want us to be, and other clubs don't think like this. They just want to sign like the new shiny, massive. Newcastle are going, oh, the PSL. You signed Chris Wood for 30 million?
Yeah.
You fucking donuts. What are you? And then you've loaned him to Forest. Like, and you wanted to, oh, my God, it's so hard on us. You signed him. You signed him. You signed Tonali for 70 million without doing a background check. And now we can't play footy. Like, that's on you.
While the Italians are laughing, they're like...
laughing their heads off. Do you know what I mean? So I just think all football needs to reset and stop thinking that's the way home all the time, because it's not. I would love Liverpool to sign Eric Dyer this summer. Genuinely love it. 4-3 centre-half. You can do, again, centre-half and centre-mid for me. He's English, so he helps with the homegrown. Loads of Premier League experience. Just had a really good second half season at Bayern Munich. I'll take him on a free all day. But there's other clubs who'll go, oh, don't fancy him. Why? You know, I don't get it.
And I think that's becoming more and more important now, Anan, with the ridiculous schedules in terms. I mean, look at Champions League; it got even worse. So you have to do what Kazi is talking about, because if you go out and spend the 70, 80 on one guy or 2 guys or whatever, and you don't build the rest of the squad, one injury or a month where you play every freaking 3 days and you're done. So you have to do that smart business to build depth, because you're not building depth by spending 50 on every single guy.
Yeah, but see, the thing about smart business, the fans don't like it.
I know.
Yeah.
Because it's not the big shiny name. People don't want the, hey, got him on a free transfer. They paid 100 million for him. He's the next big. That's what people are looking for. And I feel like sometimes clubs tend to listen to the fans just because of the backlash. We'll see. I think we're in for, according to what we keep reading, hopefully if we see where this manager guy is, right? We have no idea where he is. He could have been kidnapped by city owners and taken hostage right now. Nobody knows. But we'll see what he's on about, because we went from just a coach to he's going to be fully involved in transfers. I want to see how that's going to play out, because that'll tell us the direction the club is going this summer. Are we going to spend to fix the problems, or are we going to work with what we have? Because if we go with the work with what we have, we might be picking up free transfers. We might be picking up those smart deals on $15 and $20 million. We'll see. With the way the Champions League looks next season, it looks stupid. So I'm not even excited for it. This is the first year I'm not excited for Champions League football. It's one big group and everybody plays everybody 4 times. And
it's so basically dumb. You're in another league at the same time. Hey, look, Super League is here. Pretty much in the background over there.
Did you see the pot Liverpool is going to be in?
Yeah, it's pot 1, aren't we?
Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, And Barcelona's going to be in that same pot. Like PSG. I'm like, what the hell? We got the Super League without naming it the Super League.
It is, yeah. We're getting there. But that game schedule is going to get worse, people, because we're going to be traveling around the world if it's up to Tom Werner.
Yeah.
One day you're here, one day you're there. So is Tom not aware of our differences, travel times, and how big the earth is? Or this is what's going to happen eventually anyway, Kazi? They're basically making it a global thing. Look at NFL traveling all over the goddamn place playing.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier to do it for NFL when they only play 16 games and they play once a week. Or are they going to eliminate some of these other competitions and just do the Super League like they're planning all along?
If our owners had their own way, but it's never going to happen. This, by the way, it's never going to happen. Like, this is a pipe.
The Super League is not going to happen, or this traveling around the world
around the Premier League. I think the Super League eventually will happen, but again, we are also getting a format on the Champions League, so it might not happen. It's all a bit weird. But going back to Tom Werner's statements there about traveling around, that's never going to happen. It's a pipe dream. It just seems to me though that why does people, and I'm saying people here on a broader scale, think they can grow the Premier League even more when football is already the global game, isn't it? Like, it's already, look, I'm sorry, Americans, but it's the biggest sport in the world. Like,
no.
Who would have thunk it? You know what I mean?
Baseball, but they have world champions. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I mean, but so it's already, going back to the Tom Werner thing. Listen, he can have dreams what he likes and he can think of what he wants. It's never ever going to happen. It's just another part of this where it doesn't need to be said. Like, again, he said the things in his head out loud. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, for example, when I'm watching telly and going back to Cersei's thing and a hot lady comes on, I don't want to say to my wife, I think she's hot, but he said the things out loud. Do you know what I'm saying? Just keep that in your head, fella, because otherwise...
Yeah, you're going to have a filter.
You're going to get people like us who are football fans talking about this and start calling you bellends again. Like, you just now went quiet off the Super League and your 77 price rises and all this kind of stuff going on. And now you've said something else out loud. Just stop talking. Just stop opening your mouth and letting words.
Yeah, he didn't even say it like, a crazy dream, but maybe one day kind of thing. But here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. You're saying this is never going to happen.
No.
And I don't even know if it's like, down the league when it is Super League and the other leagues that are eliminated. I don't know if I'll be around to see it, but I can kind of see it happening in like 10, 15 years over here. We're definitely headed that way on the highway. But haven't they already little bit started this on even in Europe? I talked about NFL, but they have started this. Like, they're like, let's do the Spanish Cup final in Riyadh and stuff like that. So the selling out has already started here and there. Isn't this just going to get more and more and more?
Well, so the NFL comparison, the NFL needs it because they want to be a global sport. Outside of the U.S., how many people care for the NFL? You go to London, that when they're playing the game there, they're paying footballers to go show up so the camera goes on them. So people say, did you see Harry Kane at the game? Wow, he watches the NFL. They need that exposure. Premier League doesn't. Premier League is the most watched league in the world. Football in general is the most watched sport in the world. So they don't need this. And then this guy comes up and I don't know what you posted. One game in New York, a few hours later, a game in Tokyo, and a few hours later, a game in Riyadh. Just based on the time zone difference between those three places, you can't do it the way you said.
But I think they're hoping like that way. You turn on your TV, you get to watch Premier League all day because they're on different time zones and it happens to line up for you.
I'm sure you guys are familiar with this because you're Turkish and you saw how some of the Fenerbahce fans didn't want the Saudi game and all that. La Liga, the Spanish sides, when they were playing the Copa del Rey. And they're playing the semifinal today, and in a day and a half, they play the final so they can accommodate the Saudi schedule. They weren't happy. Those fans were not happy. Not many fans traveled, and they're extremely upset that their team is in a final. Atletico Bilbao, they were in the semifinal, and their fans can't go see them because it's in Saudi. They don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So the fans that were already rioting, they were already unhappy. So don't try to force this down people's throat because you can start to lose people. You can start to lose fans. And I hate it. I think it's this selling out process will eventually happen in England, unfortunately. because you got Tom right there mentioning Riyadh subtly, the last one. Hey, Saudi's going to give us some money. It will
Just
eventually
came to my mind at the end.
Yeah, it will eventually happen. The UFC, the world's largest mixed martial arts / combat sports company, just sold out to Saudi. Even though a year ago Dana White was talking like, "Fuck that, ain't nobody gonna buy me." And no, guess what? The biggest event of the year in 2 months at the Sphere is gonna be in Vegas, in Las Vegas at the Sphere, but it's gonna be called the Saudi Arabia Riyadh Season Fight Night. Not even a UFC fight anymore. So it's slowly everybody selling out because
Saudi
everybody
thing in
wants
Vegas is the biggest controversy of all time, by the way.
Yeah. But I could probably get beheaded for this, but that's what they want. They want to look like, hey, now we're so different, we're so open. That's what they want, and people are falling for it. Those Spanish teams are falling for it. Those Turkish teams are falling for it. PSG play their game in Qatar, but that's who owns them. City play a couple of games in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi, but that's who owns them. But to take a whole league and just send them down to Riyadh to play a couple of games, stupidest thing ever. This selling out process is really killing football. I saw a tweet from a guy who's a Wolves fan. He said, for the first time since 1987, I'm not going to be able to afford season tickets. And the top comment is, a poor people's sport taken over by the rich. And this is exactly what's happening.
And it has already happened, cause we're I think the optimist or the sport loving side of us saying, well, I mean, obviously fans, like Ryan says, having the fans play will be worse, fans will be missing. It's dumb. But haven't they already? I mean, we know they don't care as much as long as the money is there. Look at the Champions League finals. What, half of it is fans, actually? The other half is
48%
sponsors.
Fans.
Yeah. I mean, and I get all that. And I do, and I get everyone's point here. But I just think, I don't think they understand how passionate our fans are in terms of, we will just burn the ground down. Like, and you play nowhere. Because it's like, they forget what it was like in the Super League, by the way. The Super League happened during COVID and there was still riots on the streets. When the Super League, and everyone pulled out within 24 hours. So there's only so much that fans will take. And this is what, again, it comes back to the ticket prices and all that kind of stuff. And there's only so much that you can keep standing on fans before fans will rise. There's power in numbers all the time. I'll never see this happening in the Premier League. I just don't. I think what you're going to get, we're having it with the Club World Cup, is an extended Club World Cup around the world, and that's what you're going to get. It's going to be one in the USA and then one in fucking Saudi and then one in Tokyo, and that's what you're going to get. I think more than anything. There's a part here where you might start getting a winter break in the mid-season and going to do another tournament for 2 weeks, 3 weeks in another country, but I never see a Premier League game. I never see a Premier League game when played outside England.
And honestly, that would get attention because if they were doing it like every January or something like that, I can see, in Korea filling out like 100,000 stadium. But if it's every week, that stadium is probably not going to fill anyway. It's more like an event.
There's a part as well. Though, if you do create if you do create a tournament, let's just say, and it happens like the World Cup, or every 2 years in the Euros, and we split 3 weeks of the season, it'll feel massive. It'll feel like the World Cup. It felt massive. Do you know what I mean? It feels, oh my God, we're going to play, the fucking best of the kind of thing every 3 years. And we're going to play FC Seoul. And we're going to, teams that you'll never usually play. You know what I mean? You're going to play Ronaldo's team into Miami, and you're going to play that kind of like global.
I like how you didn't even know the team. You were like Ronaldo's team.
That one yellow team.
Is it Al Riyad? I can't remember his name.
No, Al Saudi, no.
Al Sadd? Is it Al Sadd? I know Al Sadd. I mean, that's what I can see happening. But I just never see a Premier League game getting played outside of England.
And I think goes back to it's like Harlem Globetrotters on. Like, you're not gonna go see them every week and be like, Generals are gonna get them this time, kind of a thing. It's an event you go to. I feel it's the same way. It works when it's once, but it's not gonna work anyway consistently when it's all the time.
But you see how we go full circle again, though, because, again, commercial revenue. When you do these games in Japan, you're not going to go take Southampton to face Forest, right? You're going to take your Manchester Uniteds and your Manchester Cities and your Liverpool and maybe Arsenal. These are the only 4 teams people want to go see worldwide. You are not taking freaking, you're not taking Wolves to play Aston Villa and Riyadh. That's not going to sell anything. So, again, it adds up. You want these teams there. You want your revenue makers. But how much pressure are you going to put on these teams to travel around the world like performing monkeys so you can make money so they can make money? It all sounds so bad. It all sounds horrible. I want Liverpool to stay in Liverpool and play their home games at Anfield, their away games, or wherever they're playing. I don't want them to go to New York, get them that jet lag in 1 hour, and then get them to play. Now they're looking at injuries. Now they're exhausted.
Yeah.
Now they got to come back the following week and play again. Now, listen, if there's a mid-season break where they go play a couple of games and come back, sure. But why? Why not give them the mid-season break to rest? Why make them perform like monkeys for rich people that just want to see them? Would I love to see a Premier League game in the U.S.? Yes. Do I want to? Hell no. That defeats the purpose of the Premier League. Like, it's dumb. Here's a question. Well, probably the answer because nobody gives a shit about them. But would the Saudis send their club to perform all over the world for other people? No. They brag about their league being the fastest growing league, blah, 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 blah. They don't want to send them anywhere else to play. Probably because nobody wants to see them. But still.
They would try to, they would kill to have a team in the Champions League, for example. They would kill.
They're talking about that.
But,
they're talking about putting Saudi teams in the Champions League in a few years. Like, it's what the fuck are you saying? Like,
but it goes back to what Kazi
money gets to your head too much.
Like, look, the best scammer, the whole Super League thing happened, and all the freaking the protests and stuff happened because they were too stupid and they're not as smart and shady as UFA and FIFA to do these things. Whereas you can see Champions League is slowly injecting it to you as opposed to just slapping in the face and saying like, hey, we're changing everything. Nobody, like, there's no huge outrage over this new format. People like us are talking about it and we're like, I really don't like it. That needle is only just starting. They're just going to keep pressing it and it's just going to get this format is going to take over. That's the only time I can kind of see something like that happening. But even then, Kazi, like I say, I don't think it's like you can't sustain that, because even if it is a Super League like that, let's say, I mean, there are going to be other teams in there. Let's say you go to, I don't know, where does he want to go to? Hold on, let's find a place that he wants to go to. Let's go to Rio, right? And then Rio, it's Porto against Dortmund. I mean, is that really going to be a huge event over there and they're going to pack like 120,000? I just don't see that happening, especially on a regular basis. Not if they went last week and saw Liverpool take on, I don't know, Arsenal or something.
So this is where it depends on the tournament they're playing in. In the World Cup, you would go and see Peru versus Bolivia because it's the World Cup and it's a World Cup match. So you have to build a tournament to mean something. So if you create a tournament that's just for the club teams every 3 years, let's say, middle of the season, take a month out. Like, by the way, they've done this with the World Cup and it worked. Just want to clarify that. So they have something to go off.
Yeah.
It happens every 3 years. And then this trophy starts to become a law of that you've won this trophy and no one can take it off you for 3 years or 4 years. You'll then you would go and see Porto and Dortmund because you would sell out because you're going to a World Cup game again. When you're going to watch fucking Madagascar versus Panama, do you know what I mean? Like you'll see better quality football down the street, but you know what I mean. So it's about what you create. It's how you market the tournament as well. How market the trophy. So as much as, and if, by the way, if Liverpool were in it and it was like a tournament, let's just say like a winter tournament, and we watch every World Cup game, don't we?
Yeah,
you would throw it on. You would throw it on and go, oh, fucking hell, I'm watching, if it happened tomorrow, Marco Reus, you're watching all these kind of lads, do you know what I mean? And Liverpool with that Porto lad, I'll throw Porto on now, fuck it. Do you know what I mean? And we watched that Porto game. Do you know what I mean? So you would start to do it. It would take time, of course it would, but I think that's the only way home where there's no Super League happens ever if you do something like this and you let them win that way. But the problem is, again, first of all, you still got to qualify for it. Number two, if you do qualify for it, the teams who qualify for it but do not want to fucking put that money back in. They'll want, if you qualify for this by merit, for example, Villa or whatever that's going to be. I don't know how it works. It'll be every 4 years, and maybe it's a collective of points that you earn over 4 years.
I got you hooked up, dude. Every 2 years, odd years. So yeah. Euro, tournaments, World Cup. Tournaments, Euro,
and that could work as well. And then maybe like a collective of points that you earn, or in that one-off season, whoever finishes and qualifies for it. Doesn't matter if you won the league year before, if you finish fifth, the year after you don't qualify. There's things you can do to make this work, And I think that's the way home for a lot of just scratch to each of these capitalist owners. Let's get it right. It's the owners who are pushing this. Like, Tom Werner's getting us out there because he's a capitalist. You know what I mean? And our owners are capitalism. So I think that's how it can work, mate. Again, go back to the Porto Dortmund scenario. I think that's what would happen if you do build a tournament like that, like the World Cup, for example.
And honestly, I mean, here's the thing: it's only going to get more money because as the league gets more valuable and the value of the clubs, and to be able to own it, you got to be a capitalist anyway. You got to be a billionaire to be able to own a club. So it's only going to be, a bunch of like these guys making decisions, and that's why the pessimist cynic in me sees this going worse. But speaking of tournaments, the Euros are about to begin. And actually, they're going to be beginning a week from now. We'll be able to talk right before, right? There's like the first game is Friday. Anan, you're more like, I know, Kazi, you're not much of an international fan, but Anan, I'm sure you'll be watching it. You picked France yesterday. Do I remember this right?
Yeah, I picked France to win it all.
To win it all. And
yeah. I know.
Kazi, I know you're picking Turkey, man. I know you're with me on this.
Come on. Is the Touran still playing? And two guy?
Yeah.
Andre's going to be there, baby.
Nah, Hamid Altintop, is he still playing right back?
No, remember Altintop?
He's head of the international team sports or some shit now. Like
didn't he have a brother?
Yeah, Hamid and
Rashid. Hamid and Khalid, yeah. They both played in Germany. They both good, actually.
Good players. Oh, great on Pro Evo. Pro Evo League. I remember Altintop up front for my Master League team. He was fantastic.
There's this Turkish kid. I don't know if he's still playing in Turkey. Burak Yilmaz. There was a time where he came in. That guy scored a hat trick against Real Madrid, and everybody's like, "Oh, we need to sign him."
Yeah, Yilmaz.
He actually did really well. He's like a coach now, but he did really well. He went to Lille in France, and they won the title with him. I mean, he was their scorer. He did well. But that's the problem with Turkey. They never have like a solid striker. There's a couple of young kids.
They did. In 2002, Hasan Sass.
Oh, the famous goal against
I remember watching the 2002 World Cup, and I was like, "Is this Turkish guy Ronaldo's brother?" I was a kid. Okay.
By the way, this is a conversation when I know we're old. Like both of the kids.
Yes.
Both of the kids. Yeah?
Yes.
Both of the kids.
It's pretty sad when you see like guys that you were like, "Oh, he was so good," and he's like this old ass guy being a manager now. You're like, "God damn, I'm old too."
Yeah,
it's pretty sad.
But I actually think, in a weird way, I think England have a massive chance to win it. I think his team that he's picked is actually pretty good because the team he's picked is based on form, which is the first time Gareth Southgate just went absolute rogue and just went, "I'm not picking my mates, I'm picking lads on form." There's probably an argument Joe Gomez starts a lot for centre half with Stones. Dunk's been out of sorts since January. I think Stones has only played 290 minutes since January. Tomori didn't get a look. So you kind of look at it could be Joe Gomez playing a lot of footy.
I'd be very happy for him, to be honest.
Oh man, I'd be so pleased for him. Luke Shaw's barely played as well, and he's only basically one left back. So Gomez has done a lot of left back, so he might play a lot of footy. So I actually think England have a massive chance. The one where England struggle is they still have a Trent conversation because you might have to do Walker right centre half, then you do Trent right back. That's what you might have to do again because of the Dunk situation and with the injuries and all that kind of stuff. So I do think it's the deepest England have been for years in terms of not if like Solanke didn't go, and I think Solanke gets like fucking 18 goals in the end and doesn't go and doesn't even have a look in. So yeah, I mean, there's probably only two winners in my opinion: is France or England, and there's a part maybe Germany because Germany just kind of show for tournaments usually. I know they've been out of sort in the last couple, but they usually show for tournaments. So yeah, it's interesting. I am actually kind of looking forward to it, only because I'll be back in England, so I can actually watch them at normal.
Oh, that's right. Okay, let me ask you this then. Does the Scouser in you root against England, or are you like, I couldn't care less either way?
I would rather Liverpool won a coin toss in a pre-season friendly against the Portland Timbers than England to win a tournament. That's how much I don't care.
That's how much you care, but do you root against it?
I laugh my balls off when England lose.
So yes, you do. Okay.
When England lost the Euros, I had an Italian shirt on when England lost the Euros to Italy. Like that's how much I am against it. But because I genuinely, I remember I put it the first when England lost and he was like, "Oh, it's coming home." And I just put a big sign up saying it's coming to Rome. Goodbye. Later, England. But yeah, but I do like, in a weird way, Domi, that's just based on my hatred when I was a child because I didn't like the team. I actually quite like these lads.
Yeah, they're a likable team.
Like the team when I was growing up was all Gary Neville and John Terry, Rio, just pricks.
Yeah.
Like, just really not nice fellas. Like John Terry especially and Rio Ferdinand, just dickheads. And it was like, Ashley Cole, and we had those big rivalries with Chelsea and stuff like that. But now I actually quite like Gareth Southgate. I actually quite like this team. I actually quite like these young lads. So it is starting to... I know what Anne's face there when I say I like Southgate. I would never want him to manage my football club, but I just think he's a sound fella. And it's just, there's something nice to sometimes seeing sound fellas do well.
Yeah. And it's so weird that he actually went with form. This is not... Something happened in the last month that made Southgate wake up or whatever it is, because I hate him. But then I look at the provisional squad. I was like, holy shit, he's got everything right, even with the provisional squad.
He's
and then I look at the final cut, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Maguire's out. That's like his boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Grealish, bro. I know.
James Madison thought he was guaranteed a spot regardless of what's going on. And Southgate's like, dude, no.
Madison had a proper celebration planned as well, don't you? Yeah, if he was going to score. He's the type to practice a celebration in the fucking mirror, thinking he was going to score for England at the Euros. And he's got, you know what I mean? So I actually quite like that Gareth Southgate's had a bit of salt and pepper to his team. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he's the most plain Jane kind of guy. And he's branched out a bit. So
he's going to wear that vest and he's just going to stand there and it's coming home. I think, France, England, Germany, and Spain. Spain look good. Spain look very young.
I haven't seen much of Spain at all.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, but they always have like a base core that is like very skilled, and especially in midfield and stuff like that. But it should be like an interesting tournament. I don't know. Hopefully Turkey does decent.
Before we go, I'll need to ask you, I'm a senior on the greatest leader of all time, who's forced to be a football manager, Jose Mourinho. Right? A guy who was born in the wrong era, who would lead men to battle if it was in the 40s. He would lead countries, and he's forced to be a football manager, Jose Mourinho, taking over your beloved Fenerbahce. How are you feeling about this?
No, I'm actually happy about it.
Adding Jose Mourinho to Turkish football, fella, is adding fucking petrol to a fire, isn't it? Like, what a guy to go. Like, I can see him now with, like, when Graham Souness put the fucking Galatasaray flag on. He's definitely doing it, isn't he? The Fenerbahce, bam, in the middle.
Yeah, you should have seen him in the stadium. Like, it was a Coliseum. He was, like, waving this thing. Yeah, it's, I think it's going to be definitely good for Fenerbahce. I'm pretty excited about it. I've been a Mourinho apologist, you guys know, for quite some time. So I was actually kind of thrilled. It's the kind of villainish manager they need. We were talking about on the Monday night podcast too, so pretty excited about that. Yeah, a lot to be excited about coming up over here. We have the Euros coming up, Turkey with the national team. We have a new manager for Liverpool, I've heard. We don't know anything about him, but hey, here's some good news. By next Thursday, we'll have the Supporters Club from Netherlands on American Scouser over here, so they'll be able to confirm at this it's an actual person. And he does exist. He's not like Ben Davies, the hologram of managers or something like that. So
isn't Besiktas getting Ole as well?
Who?
Besiktas, aren't they getting Ole?
No. I thought they got the dude who used to be Rangers after Gerrard.
So who's getting Ole? Because I saw him with a Turkish flag on Twitter.
Oh, God knows. I have no idea.
Can we end on Ryan's comments, which might be the best comment I've read in a long time in these threads? Because my God, it's like it's Jose, bro. He's absolutely. I couldn't believe it. I was the happiest guy in the world. I might just tune into every Turkish football.
It's gonna be here's the thing though. Like people will watch Turkish soccer just to watch Mourinho.
Yeah,
because the best Mourinho meme was Mourinho after 1 year in Turkey, and he's got long hair.
Yeah. He's gonna look $1 million, isn't he? Like fighting his players. Oh.
I find it funny that like he is already like I say, he's brought a lot of attention to the league already, and I think he'll bring some players along too. Fred is his boy who's already there, so he has some like I think he used to coach Dzeko as well. He's there.
It's gonna be some serious shithousery, man.
It's going to be exciting. I'm kind of looking forward to it. But Lee is right, damn it. Smash the likes, people. You know the score exactly. Like, share, subscribe, spread the word as always. Like I say, next Thursday we'll have like the Netherlands Supporters Club to give us the scoop on Arne Slot and see if he's real or not. And also, more importantly, actually, for the fans in the US over here, we're going to have interviews with all three of the supporter clubs where the preseason is going to happen. So we'll get some like details in terms of events and stuff like that. So if you are making the trip or if you're thinking of making the trip, make sure to tune in and make sure to join us on Discord where they're going to be releasing the information so you can hook up with other fans while you're hanging around in Philly, because you don't want to go to the wrong part of Philly is what I was told. So on that note, we'll wrap it up over here. Next up, Monday morning, I'll be back with the Polish Prince over here. Have an excellent soccerless weekend, everyone, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.